Hey guys, tonight we're stepping back, way back, to a time when a single individual held absolute power, and the line between man and God was, shall we say, a little blurry. We're talking about ancient Egypt, and specifically, why those magnificent, colossal pyramids weren't just impressive feats of engineering, but brutal, backbreaking, and utterly relentless undertakings for anyone involved. You might look at them today, pristine against the desert sky, and think of grand visions and divine purpose. But trust me, you probably wouldn't last a week on one of those construction sites. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Now, tell me, where are you tuning in from, and what time is it for you? Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You stand on the sun-baked earth of ancient Egypt, a land utterly dominated by the shimmering, life-giving Nile River and the equally dominant will of one man, the pharaoh. For you, a simple peasant, farmer, or perhaps a skilled craftsman. The pharaoh is not just a ruler, he is a living god, the embodiment of divine order, the one who ensures the annual flooding of the Nile, the fertility of the land, and the very stability of your world. This belief isn't some abstract concept. It's woven into the fabric of your daily existence, as real as the dust beneath your bare feet. And this living God has a grand, almost incomprehensible vision to build a monument to his eternal glory, a colossal tomb that will ensure his passage to the afterlife and solidify his divine rule for all eternity. You might hear the first whispers of this ambition filtering through your village, carried by scribes or overseers who arrive to conduct a census of men and resources. The scale of the proposed undertaking is unfathomable. You've seen temples, certainly, and grand buildings, but nothing that approaches the sheer size and majesty implied by these early pronouncements. It's a project that will consume lifetimes, generations even, and it demands the collective might of the entire kingdom. For you, this isn't just about building a tomb, it's about fulfilling a divine mandate. To contribute to the pharaoh's eternal journey is to ensure the prosperity of Egypt itself. Your efforts are not just labor, they are an act of piety, a sacred duty. This widespread belief, this unwavering faith in the pharaoh's divinity, is the colossal engine driving the entire pyramid-building enterprise. Without this deep-seated religious conviction, the sheer human effort required would have been impossible to sustain. It's a truth often overlooked in modern discussions. This wasn't just forced labor, it was deeply interwoven with religious belief and communal identity. You watch as the first preparations begin. Scribes with their papyrus scrolls move through the land, meticulously counting able-bodied men, assessing the agricultural output of villages, and charting the course of the Nile. Specialized teams are dispatched to distant quarries, their hammers and chisels ringing out in the remote hills. You hear stories of the challenges they face, the difficulty of extracting stone from the stubborn earth, the immense distances these materials must travel. It's a logistical undertaking on a scale never before conceived. As the vision takes shape, the pressure mounts. The pharaoh's will is absolute, and his vision brooks no argument, tolerates no delay. You feel the weight of this expectation settling over the land, a palpable tension in the air. Overseers, recognizable by their distinctive staffs and stern expressions, become more common sights. They are the earthly representatives of the pharaoh's divine will, and their authority is unquestioned. One fascinating, yet often overlooked detail of this initial phase is the role of the priests and astrologers. They are not merely observing, they are actively involved in the selection of the pyramid site, aligning it with celestial bodies and ensuring its spiritual purity. You might see them performing elaborate rituals, chanting incantations, and making offerings to the gods at the chosen location. This adds another layer of divine sanction to the project, reinforcing its sacred nature in the minds of the common people. It's not just a construction site, It's a sacred landscape being prepared for a god. The general understanding is that the pyramids were built by a massive, organized workforce, not enslaved people in the conventional sense, but rather a combination of skilled craftsmen, permanent laborers, and seasonal workers who fulfilled their civic duty during the Nile's inundation. You are part of this last group, a farmer whose fields are now submerged under the annual floodwaters, rendering you temporarily idle. This period, when your land is unproductive, is precisely when the pharaoh calls upon your strength and labor. It's a clever system, ensuring a constant supply of labor when it's most available. A historical fact that challenges the popular image of solely enslaved builders. You might feel a sense of both dread and pride as the time approaches to join the ranks of the pyramid builders. Dread, because you know the work will be unimaginably hard, the conditions harsh, and the separation from your family long. Pride, because you are contributing to something monumental, something that will echo through eternity, something that connects you directly to the divine pharaoh himself. It's a strange dichotomy, this mix of forced labor and profound religious devotion. The preliminary work on the Giza Plateau begins to transform the landscape. Vast areas are cleared and leveled, a monumental task in itself. Teams of surveyors meticulously mark out the base of the future pyramid, using sophisticated astronomical observations and simple tools like ropes and plumb bobs. You see the precision with which they work, the almost religious reverence they have for their measurements. This level of planning and organization is astounding, a testament to the advanced administrative capabilities of the ancient Egyptians. The logistics of sustaining such a massive undertaking quickly become apparent. Teams are dispatched to dig wells, ensuring a constant supply of fresh water for the thousands of workers who will soon converge on the site. Temporary housing structures, vast barracks made of mud brick, begin to rise from the sand, providing shelter for the immense labor force. Food provisions are gathered from across the kingdom, stored in vast granaries. It's a city being built to serve a single, colossal purpose. One lingering academic debate centers on the exact construction methods used for the pyramids, particularly the Giza pyramids. While the general consensus leans towards various ramp systems, the precise nature of these ramps, whether they were straight, spiral, or a combination, remains a subject of scholarly argument. As you watch the early stages of the project, you can only imagine the sheer scale of the engineering challenges that lie ahead. The very idea of lifting millions of tons of stone to such heights seems utterly impossible. Yet the pharaoh's will, and the collective might of Egypt, are determined to make it a reality. You know that whatever methods they devise, they will demand unimaginable effort from those who execute them. The summons arrives like a drumbeat in your village, echoing the annual rhythm of the Nile. It's the time of the inundation, when the mighty river swells its banks, spilling over the fields and transforming the fertile land into a vast, muddy lake. For months, your agricultural labor is impossible. And it is precisely during this period of forced idleness that the pharaoh's will asserts itself most forcefully. You are, along with countless others, swept into the massive labor force, driven by a potent mix of civic duty, religious devotion, and the undeniable authority of the state. You gather your meager belongings, a change of linen, a wooden bowl, perhaps a small amulet to ward off evil spirits. The farewells to your family are quiet, tinged with a mix of resignation and hope. You know the work ahead is grueling, dangerous, and often monotonous. But you also know it is temporary. This isn't permanent enslavement, it's a seasonal conscription, a tax paid in muscle and sweat. Your community understands this. They rely on your contribution to the pharaoh's eternal dwelling, for his well-being in the afterlife directly impacts the prosperity of Egypt itself. The journey to the pyramid site is, for many, a march. You join lines of men, sometimes hundreds strong, trekking across the still dry lands or navigating small boats through the burgeoning floodwaters. Overseers, armed with staffs and a stern demeanor, ensure discipline. But generally, the movement is orderly. You might pass other groups, similarly conscripted, coming from distant villages, all converging on the growing construction site. The sheer scale of this human migration is astonishing, a testament to the pharaoh's administrative power. Upon arrival at the Giza Plateau, or whichever site your contingent is assigned to, you are immediately struck by the sheer volume of humanity already present. The air is thick with the dust of activity, the clamor of voices, and the rhythmic sound of tools on stone. You are directed to the sprawling workers' village, a temporary city that has sprung up like a mushroom colony from the desert floor. It's a remarkable feat of organization in itself, designed to house and feed tens of thousands of laborers. You are assigned to a gang, perhaps 20 men strong, led by a seasoned foreman. This gang, in turn, is part of a larger crew, and crews make up divisions. This hierarchical structure is meticulously maintained, ensuring efficiency and accountability. You learn the names of your fellow gang members, often men from your own village or neighboring communities, creating a familiar, if temporary, bond. This shared experience, this communal suffering and effort, will forge a unique camaraderie among you. Your living conditions are basic, but surprisingly organized for such a colossal undertaking. You share a small mud-brick barrack with your gang, sleeping on reed mats on the hard-packed earth. The barracks are simple, offering shelter from the brutal sun and the occasional desert winds. Water is distributed from wells dug specifically for the site, and food, though monotonous, is regular and plentiful, usually bread, beer, and onions, with occasional fish or meat. This daily sustenance, while basic, is often better than what many peasants receive in their own villages during lean times. A small incentive to endure the harsh labor. This common historical understanding, often surprising to modern audiences, counters the myth of starvation-level rations for the builders. The sheer logistics of feeding and sheltering such a massive workforce is an unsung marvel of ancient Egyptian administration. Imagine the thousands of loaves of bread baked daily, the thousands of liters of beer brewed, the endless supply chains managing the flow of provisions from across the kingdom. This was a sophisticated, centrally planned operation, requiring meticulous record-keeping and efficient distribution networks. It's a detail often overshadowed by the pyramids themselves. But without this administrative genius, the construction would have collapsed under its own weight. Your first days are spent acclimatizing to the brutal routine. The sun, a relentless disk of fire in the vast blue sky, beats down upon you without mercy. The air is dry, filled with dust kicked up by thousands of feet and the constant movement of stone. You learn to conserve water, to find what little shade is available during breaks, and to endure the suffocating heat that permeates everything. Your skin, accustomed to the gentler sun of your fields, quickly darkens and toughens. You are assigned tasks, often related to the initial site preparation. You might be involved in clearing vast swathes of desert, leveling the ground with rudimentary tools, or hauling smaller stones to build temporary ramps and causeways. The work is repetitive, physically demanding, and requires immense stamina. You quickly learn the importance of teamwork within your gang. A missed step, a moment of distraction, could lead to injury for yourself or your comrades. The shouts of the foreman, the rhythmic grunts of effort, and the constant scrape of tools against stone become the soundtrack of your days. One peculiar, often unremarked upon aspect of this mass conscription is the psychological conditioning that takes place. The constant drumming of religious duty, the communal effort towards a divine goal, and the omnipresent symbols of the pharaoh's power slowly, subtly, instill a sense of collective purpose. You are not just building a tomb, you are participating in a sacred act that guarantees the prosperity of your land and the eternal life of your God-King. This profound belief system, whether genuinely held or simply internalized through societal pressure, becomes a powerful motivator, helping you push through the pain and exhaustion. The hierarchy on the site is clear and unyielding. Above you are the foremen, then the scribes who manage inventories and labor schedules, then the architects and engineers who oversee the grand design, and finally, At the apex, the pharaoh's vizier, the ultimate earthly authority on the project. You are at the bottom, a cog in an unimaginably vast machine, but a necessary one. You learn to respect and fear the authority of those above you, for their word is law. There is an ongoing academic debate among Egyptologists regarding the exact methods of labor organization and the true level of volunteerism versus coercion in pyramid construction. While it's clear these were not chattel slaves in the Roman sense, the line between civic duty and forced labor in an absolute monarchy is often blurred. You, as a seasonal worker, experience this ambiguity directly. You are not chained, but you are not truly free to refuse either. Your presence is expected, your labor required, and your participation is a fundamental aspect of your social contract with the divine ruler. As days turn into weeks, you become accustomed to the relentless rhythm of the work. You learn to interpret the foreman's signals, to anticipate the needs of your gang, and to work in synchronized effort to move heavy loads. You find small moments of respite, a shared laugh with a comrade during a short break, a cool drink of water at the end of a grueling shift, the brief comfort of sleep after a day of ceaseless toil. These small mercies are what sustain you, what allow you to face another dawn and another day of backbreaking labor. You are a part of something truly colossal, something that will stand for millennia. But at this moment, you are simply a body, a pair of hands, contributing to the pharaoh's grand, brutal vision. With your body accustomed to the relentless rhythm of the work camp and your mind resigned to the pharaoh's divine mandate, you are now thrust into the very heart of the pyramid-building enterprise quarrying. This is where the colossal ambition truly meets the brutal reality, where millions of tons of stone must be wrenched from the earth itself. Under the unforgiving Egyptian sun, you are assigned to a quarry, perhaps the infamous Tura quarry for fine white limestone, or the distant Aswan quarries for the harder, more exotic red granite. The journey to these sites can be arduous, requiring days or even weeks of travel by foot or by river barge. When you arrive, the landscape is already scarred by generations of stone extraction, vast open pits and sheer rock faces testifying to the immense effort that has already been expended. The air vibrates not with the sounds of building, but with the incessant clang of tools against rock, a metallic symphony of human struggle. Your tools are rudimentary, yet effective. Copper chisels, pounded tirelessly by wooden mallets, are your primary implements. For harder stones, you might use dolerite pounders, heavy, rounded stones used to repeatedly strike the rock surface, gradually weakening it. You learn the specific techniques for each type of stone. For softer limestone, you might use saws made of copper, or even flint tools to cut precise lines. For granite, it's a grueling process of pounding and cracking, often using water and wooden wedges that expand when soaked, splitting the rock along its natural fissures. You're not simply chipping away at rock, you're engaging in a protracted battle against geological time itself. The work is mind-numbingly repetitive and physically destructive. You swing your mallet, striking the copper chisel into the rock. Again and again, thousands of times a day. Your muscles ache, your hands blister, and the fine dust from the stone settles into every pore, stinging your eyes and coating your throat. The heat in the quarry is amplified by the reflective surfaces of the rock, turning the air into a shimmering haze. Sweat pours from your body in rivers, mingling with the dust to form a gritty paste on your skin. You feel like a part of the earth, slowly eroding under the constant assault of your own labor. Safety is a luxury you cannot afford. There are no sturdy scaffolding or modern safety harnesses. You work on uneven surfaces, often perched precariously on ledges or within deep pits. Falling stones are a constant threat, and accidental strikes from a comrade's mallet are common. The air is thick with dust, which slowly, insidiously, damages your lungs. Eye injuries from flying chips of rock are frequent. You see men with missing fingers, limps, and persistent coughs, living testaments to the inherent dangers of the quarry. One common, though often sensationalized, myth is that workers were regularly crushed to death under massive blocks. While accidents certainly occurred, the meticulous planning and the sheer number of workers involved meant that such direct fatalities were likely less frequent than implied by popular culture. However, injuries were endemic, and severe injuries would often lead to permanent disability, effectively ending a worker's ability to earn a living, which was a slow, brutal death sentence in itself. The process of extracting a single large block is an undertaking in itself. You might work for days, even weeks, alongside your gang, painstakingly cutting and pounding around a designated block. Once a section is isolated, levers and wooden rollers are brought in to pry the massive chunk of stone from its bed. The collective grunts and shouts of hundreds of men straining together create a powerful, visceral sound, a testament to the sheer human force being applied. This isn't just about strength, it's about coordinated effort, understanding the mechanics of leverage and the precise application of force. The psychological toll is as heavy as the physical. The monotonous rhythm of striking stone, day after day, week after week, can be soul-crushing. There's little variation, little relief. Your world shrinks to the immediate task, the small section of rock before you, the ache in your limbs. Yet, you are driven by the knowledge that each chip, each crack, is a step closer to the Pharaoh's eternal dwelling. The divine mandate, hammered into you from childhood, becomes a powerful internal motivator, even when your body screams in protest. One less known detail about quarrying is the use of small, precise channels. Before large blocks were split, ancient Egyptian quarrymen would often carve narrow channels around the desired stone, sometimes only wide enough for a single man to work in. This allowed them to isolate the block more effectively and reduce the risk of uncontrolled splitting. You might find yourself squeezed into one of these claustrophobic spaces, working for hours in the stifling heat, chipping away at the stubborn rock, feeling the vibrations of your mallet reverberate through your entire body. There is a fascinating academic debate about the precise composition of some of the harder tools used, particularly how the Egyptians managed to work granite so effectively with seemingly soft copper tools. While theories range from hardened copper alloys to the extensive use of abrasive sand with softer tools, your experience suggests that it's a combination of sheer, brute force, immense patience, and an understanding of the stone's natural weaknesses. The reality is that the tools, while basic, were used with incredible persistence and skill, amplifying their effectiveness as the floodwaters recede from your fields, signaling the end of your seasonal conscription. You carry the indelible marks of the quarry with you. Your hands are calloused and scarred, your back aches, and your lungs may carry the insidious dust for years to come. But you also carry a profound, if unspoken, sense of accomplishment. You have literally moved mountains, or at least chipped away at them, contributing your small part to a monument that defies human scale. You are exhausted, certainly, but you are also a survivor of one of the ancient world's most brutal, yet awe-inspiring, undertakings. The stone, wrenched from the earth by your own hands, now waits for its monumental journey to the pyramid site. With the colossal stone blocks finally liberated from the stubborn embrace of the quarries, your next, equally agonizing challenge begins transporting these titans across vast, unforgiving distances. You are no longer just a quarryman. You are a mover of mountains, a participant in one of history's greatest logistical puzzles, pushing and pulling against the sheer inertia of millions of tons of rock. The journey begins at the quarry face. Once a block is cut and roughly shaped, it needs to be moved to the nearest embarkation point, often a specially constructed ramp or a loading dock along a canal. Here, the sheer weight of the stone becomes painfully apparent. You and your gang, alongside dozens of others, prepare the block for its journey. This often involves wrapping ropes made of palm fiber around the stone or placing it on a wooden sled. These sleds, often made from sturdy local timber, are the primary mode of transport for the largest blocks on land. The ground from the quarry to the water's edge is rarely flat. You might find yourself dragging these massive sleds over uneven terrain, across sand and gravel, to reduce friction. It's a common historical fact that the Egyptians would often wet the sand in front of the sleds. You witness, and participate in, this ingenious yet messy process. Water bearers constantly pour water onto the sand, transforming it into a more pliable, less resistant surface. Even so, every inch gained is a monumental effort, a synchronized grunt of hundreds of men pulling on ropes, their muscles straining, their bare feet digging into the softened earth. The heat is a constant, oppressive enemy. The sun beats down with relentless ferocity, reflecting off the pale stone and the sandy ground. Dust, mixed with sweat, cakes your skin, stinging your eyes and coating your throat. You learn to breathe shallowly, to conserve what little moisture your body holds. Dehydration is a constant threat, and water, though provided, is never enough to truly quench the thirst that burns in your gut. Your body becomes a machine, fueled by bread, beer, and a desperate will to endure. For the heaviest blocks, particularly the granite from Aswan destined for the king's chamber, the primary mode of transport is the Nile River itself. You witness the incredible feat of loading these massive stones onto specialized barges. These barges are not mere boats. They are custom-built, sturdy vessels, designed to withstand the immense weight of their cargo. The process of getting a multi-ton block from land onto a floating platform requires immense precision, careful calculations, and the synchronized effort of hundreds, if not thousands, of men. This often involves complex systems of ramps and levers, slowly coaxing the stone onto the barge as it sits low in the water. Once loaded, the journey down the Nile is comparatively easier, yet still fraught with peril. The barges are often lashed together, forming a floating convoy, guided by skilled navigators and propelled by oarsmen or, when the winds are favorable, by simple sails. You might be one of those oarsmen, your back aching with the rhythmic pulling of the oar, your eyes constantly scanning the river for submerged obstacles or sudden shifts in current. Though less physically demanding than dragging on land, the river journey requires constant vigilance. One less-known detail is the use of artificial canals and basins. While the Nile was the main artery, ancient Egyptians often dug temporary canals from the river to the very edge of the pyramid sites, especially during the inundation season. This allowed them to bring the heavy stone barges directly to the construction area, significantly reducing the overland hauling distance. You might be involved in the grueling work of digging these canals, shoveling mud and dirt under the scorching sun, creating a pathway for the future giants of stone. This is a testament to their foresight and their ability to modify the landscape for their grand projects. The dangers of river transport are real. A sudden storm could capsize a barge, sending irreplaceable blocks, and the men guiding them, to the bottom of the Nile. Shifting sandbanks could ground a vessel, requiring days of arduous effort to free it. The very power of the Nile, which gives life to Egypt, could also take it away in an instant. You learn to respect the river's might, to read its currents, and to understand its unpredictable moods. Upon arrival at the pyramid site, the reverse process begins unloading the massive blocks from the barges. This often involves guiding the barges into a specially constructed basin or dock, allowing the stones to be slid off directly onto prepared ramps or sleds. The process is slow, methodical, and requires constant supervision from overseers and engineers. Every movement is calculated, every rope tested, every lever carefully manipulated. A single mistake could damage a block, or worse, injure or kill dozens of men. There is a persistent academic debate regarding the exact method of how the blocks were moved from the quarries and ultimately up the pyramid ramps. While the use of sleds and wet sand is widely accepted for flat ground and barges for river transport, the exact combination of these methods for every stage of the journey and the specific types of ramps used remain topics of ongoing discussion among Egyptologists. Your lived experience, however, is a testament to the immense human effort involved. regardless of the precise engineering solutions. The scale of the undertaking is simply mind-boggling. Imagine millions of individual blocks, each weighing anywhere from 2.5 to 15 tons, or even more for the truly massive granite pieces, making this arduous journey. The coordination required to manage this constant flow of materials, ensuring that the right blocks arrive at the right time and place, is a logistical masterpiece. You are just one small part of this massive human chain, pushing and pulling, hauling and sweating, driven by the collective will to serve the pharaoh. As the block you've been assigned finally reaches its temporary resting place near the pyramid base, you feel a fleeting sense of relief, quickly replaced by the exhaustion that permeates your entire being. Your muscles scream in protest, your lungs burn, and your mind is dulled by the relentless physical exertion. You know this is just one leg of the journey for this stone, and for you, the next stage, the upward ascent onto the pyramid itself, promises even greater brutality. But for now, you've completed your segment, pushing these titans closer to their eternal resting place, one agonizing inch at a time. The colossal blocks have arrived at the base of the pyramid, resting like sleeping giants on the leveled ground. But the real challenge, the most awe-inspiring and brutal aspect of the entire endeavor, now begins. The ramps of despair. You find yourself straining on these ingenious, yet utterly backbreaking structures that will elevate millions of tons of massive stone skyward, inch by agonizing inch, towards the pharaoh's eternal resting place. Imagine the sheer scale of these ramps. They are not simply inclines, they are massive engineering projects in themselves, constructed from rubble, mud brick, and timber, sometimes stretching for hundreds of meters. As the pyramid rises, so too must the ramps, constantly being extended and raised to keep pace with the growing structure. You are a part of the vast workforce dedicated to this relentless climb, your body becoming a mere extension of the ropes and sleds. Your days are consumed by hauling. The blocks, too heavy for any individual, are loaded onto wooden sleds. Thick ropes, made from twisted papyrus or palm fibers, are then attached to the front of these sleds. You are one of hundreds, sometimes thousands, of men pulling on these ropes, your bare feet digging into the rough surface of the ramp. The incline, though seemingly gentle from a distance, feels like a mountain face when you are straining against a multi-ton stone. The rhythmic chant of the foreman fills the air, urging you forward, synchronizing your efforts. Hup, hup, pull, pull. The sound is primal, a guttural expression of shared effort and collective suffering. Your muscles burn, your lungs ache, and sweat streams into your eyes, blurring your vision. Every step is a deliberate, agonizing effort, a testament to the sheer human will pitted against the immense inertia of the stone. To reduce friction on the ramp, a clever but immensely labor-intensive technique is employed. Lubricants, often water or a slippery mud, are continuously poured onto the path in front of the sleds. You might be one of the water carriers, constantly ferrying heavy amphorae of water from the wells to the ramps, sloshing it onto the ground just before a sled passes. This makes the surface slick, allowing the sleds to glide with slightly less resistance, but it also turns the ramp into a muddy, treacherous slope, increasing the risk of slips and falls. This is a detail often overlooked. It wasn't just dry friction. The dangers are ever present. A frayed rope could snap, sending men tumbling backward down the ramp, or causing a block to careen wildly. A misplaced step on the slippery surface could lead to a catastrophic fall. The constant pressure of the weight you're hauling puts immense strain on your joints, your back, your entire skeletal structure. You see men collapse from exhaustion, their bodies giving out under the relentless strain. Some suffer broken bones, others are crushed by errant blocks. This isn't theoretical. This is your daily reality. One common misconception is that the ramps were always simple, straight structures. In reality, archaeologists and historians still fiercely debate the exact design of the ramps used for the Great Pyramid of Giza. Theories range from a single, massive straight ramp to a spiraling ramp that wrapped around the pyramid as it grew, or even an internal ramp system. As you labor on the ramp, you don't care about the academic debate. You only know the brutal reality of the incline beneath your feet, constantly changing and extending as the pyramid ascends. The precise engineering of these ancient structures remains a tantalizing mystery, a testament to an ingenuity that baffles even modern experts. As the pyramid grows taller, the ramps become longer, steeper, and more exposed to the elements. The air thins slightly at the higher altitudes, making breathing even more difficult. The sun's glare is intensified by the pale limestone. You are working in a relentless oven, with no escape from the heat or the demands of your overseers. The higher you go, the more the world shrinks to the immediate task, the sheer effort of lifting, pulling, and pushing. The work is meticulously organized. Teams of highly skilled stonemasons work at the top, precisely placing each block with incredible accuracy, ensuring the pyramid's perfect alignment. Below them, you and countless others are the engine, the tireless force that brings those blocks to their designated positions. There's a constant flow blocks arriving at the base, being pulled up the ramps, and finally disappearing into the growing monument. It's a colossal ballet of human labor, orchestrated by precise planning and relentless supervision. You learn to find a strange rhythm in the toil, the collective grunts of your fellow workers, the rhythmic creak of the ropes, the constant shuffle of feet on the ramp. These sounds become a hypnotic backdrop to your suffering. You learn to conserve energy, to find the most efficient way to pull, to distribute the weight. You develop a kind of muscle memory for the pain, enduring it as an inevitable part of your existence on the pyramid site. One particularly grueling detail of ramp construction, often unappreciated, is the constant need for maintenance and extension. As the pyramid rises, the ramps must be continually built up, widened, and strengthened to support the ever-increasing weight and traffic. This means that a significant portion of the workforce isn't just moving stones up the pyramid, but also moving raw materials for the ramps themselves. You might spend days hauling mud brick, rubble, and timber just to build the path you will then use to haul the colossal stones. It's a self-sustaining cycle of never-ending labor. The psychological aspect of the ramps is also crushing. You look up at the impossible height, then down at the ever-receding ground. And the sheer scale of what you are doing can be overwhelming. You are building a mountain, literally. And every block that moves an inch upward represents an immeasurable amount of human effort, sweat, and suffering. You see men praying to the gods for strength, for endurance, for the end of their service. You yourself might offer silent pleas, bargaining with the divine for just a moment of relief. As a block finally settles into its place high above the desert floor, you feel a fleeting sense of triumph, a momentary surge of pride. You contributed to that. Your strength, your sweat, your suffering is now part of this immortal monument. But the feeling is quickly overshadowed by the knowledge that countless more blocks await. And the relentless climb will continue tomorrow, and the day after that, until the pharaoh's ultimate vision is complete. At the brutal cost of your own enduring despair, you are now fully immersed in the relentless, backbreaking reality of pyramid construction. Every dawn brings the same suffocating certainty, another day of daily grind under the scorching sun. Your life has shrunk to a monotonous cycle of physical exertion, where every muscle aches, every breath burns, and the very air seems to conspire against your endurance. The sun is your omnipresent tormentor. From the moment it first peaks over the eastern desert horizon, a fiery orange disk, until it dips below the western sands, casting long shadows across the plateau. Its rays beat down with merciless intensity. The temperature soars, easily reaching well over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, 38 degrees Celsius in the shade, and much higher under the direct, unfiltered glare. You feel its heat radiating from the stone, from the sand, from the very air you breathe. Your skin is permanently tanned, cracked, and calloused, a testament to its ceaseless assault. The workday begins early, before the sun reaches its full ferocity, and stretches late into the evening. There are no fixed hours in the modern sense. You work from sunrise to sunset, with only brief, insufficient breaks. The overseers, identifiable by their light clothing and constant vigilance, ensure that the pace never slackens. Their shouts, punctuated by the crack of a whip, a tool more for intimidation and direction than for constant lashing, are a constant reminder to keep moving, to keep pulling, to keep digging. Your diet, while consistent, is utilitarian, primarily bread, beer, and onions. The bread is coarse, made from emmer wheat, and though filling, offers little in the way of variety or true nourishment for the immense energy you expend. The beer, thick and low in alcohol, is a vital source of hydration and calories. Safer to drink than the often contaminated water. Onions, rich in vitamins, provide essential nutrients. You eat quickly, often squatting in whatever meager shade you can find, the food tasting like dust in your parched mouth. This practical, yet uninspiring, diet is a common historical fact of the laborer's existence, designed for sustenance rather than pleasure. Water, the most precious commodity, is carefully rationed. You drink from communal jars, the water often warm and tasting faintly of the pottery it's stored in. You learn to savor every sip, to make it last, knowing that dehydration is a constant, insidious threat. Your body screams for more, but there is never enough to truly quench the deep. Internal fire the sun ignites. The constant physical strain affects every part of your being. Your muscles are perpetually sore, knotted with fatigue. Your hands are raw, calloused, and often bleeding from gripping ropes or wielding crude tools. Your feet, bare or shod in simple sandals, are toughened by the rough ground, but prone to cuts and abrasions. Sleep, when it comes, is often fitful, disturbed by aches and the memory of the day's relentless toil. You are perpetually exhausted, living in a haze of physical weariness. The work itself is highly repetitive. If you are part of a hauling gang, you spend your day pulling ropes, your body straining against the immense weight of the stone. If you are a stone dresser, you spend hours meticulously chipping away at rock, shaping it with precision. If you are a ramp builder, you carry endless loads of rubble and mud brick. There is little variation, little intellectual stimulation. Your mind often retreats into itself, seeking escape from the monotony through dreams or simple, repetitive thoughts. One particularly grueling, and often overlooked, aspect of the daily grind is the constant battle against the elements. Beyond the sun, you contend with the fine, abrasive sand that gets into everything: your eyes, your mouth, your clothes, your food. It chafes your skin, irritates your lungs, and makes even simple movements uncomfortable. Dust devils can sweep across the site, temporarily blinding you and coating everything in a fresh layer of grit. The desert is not a static backdrop. It is an active participant in your suffering. Hygiene is rudimentary. You might wash in the canal or a communal well at the end of the day, but true cleanliness is impossible. The sweat, dust, and grime are a constant companion. This contributes to skin irritations, infections, and a pervasive, inescapable smell of exertion and unwashed bodies that hangs over the workers' village. It's a smell that, even years later, you would associate with the pyramid. There is an academic debate about the precise level of medical care available to the workers. While archaeological evidence suggests organized settlements with medical facilities for injuries like the bone fractures found in worker skeletons, the treatment of chronic illnesses, heat stroke, or simple exhaustion is less clear. You know that if you fall ill, your survival often depends on your own resilience and the goodwill of your gang. A bad fever could mean days of incapacitation, and a severe injury could end your ability to work, effectively condemning you. You are part of a machine, and if a cog breaks, it might be replaced, not repaired. Despite the harshness, moments of human connection exist. You share jokes with your fellow gang members, offer a supportive grunt to a struggling comrade, or share your meager rations during a particularly long day. This camaraderie, born from shared suffering and collective effort, becomes a vital emotional support. You are not alone in your misery. And that shared experience provides a thin, yet crucial, shield against despair. The foremen might be strict, but they are also part of the same system, and many understand the limits of human endurance. You learn to find small moments of respite, brief escapes from the relentless toil, perhaps watching the stars emerge in the cool desert night, listening to the quiet murmur of conversations in the barracks, or simply feeling the brief relief of sitting down after hours of standing. These small, fleeting moments are what allow you to recharge, however imperfectly, before the next dawn calls you back to the brutal reality of the pyramid site. Your life is an endless loop of physical labor, driven by the sun and the will of your pharaoh, a testament to human endurance and its limits. After the brutal daily grind of quarrying, transporting, and hauling, you retreat each evening to the vast, bustling expanse of the workers' village. This isn't just a collection of tents. It's a surprisingly organized, sprawling settlement, a city unto itself, designed to house and sustain the thousands of laborers who are building the pyramids. While conditions are undoubtedly harsh by modern standards, it offers a stark contrast to the common misconception of pyramid builders as starving, unkempt slaves. As you approach the village after a grueling day, the scent of cooking fires hangs heavy in the air, a welcome promise of sustenance. The cacophony of the construction site slowly fades, replaced by the murmur of thousands of voices, the occasional bleating of goats, and the distant sound of a flute. You are directed towards your barrack, a simple, rectangular mud brick structure shared with your gang of about 20 men. These barracks are laid out in a grid pattern, evidence of careful planning and strict organization. Inside, the barrack is sparse, hard-packed earth floor, low mud brick walls, and a roof made of reeds and mud, offering little more than shade and basic shelter from the elements. You find your designated space, a small area on the floor where you unroll your reed mat. Personal possessions are few: a wooden bowl, perhaps a simple knife, a small clay jar for water, and the clothes on your back. There is little privacy, but a strong sense of communal living, forged by shared hardship. The layout of the village itself is a testament to Egyptian administrative prowess. Beyond the barracks, you find communal kitchens with massive bread ovens, capable of baking thousands of loaves daily. There are granaries to store the immense quantities of grain, workshops for tool repair and production, and even rudimentary infirmaries. This level of infrastructure highlights a crucial historical fact. The pyramid construction was a highly sophisticated, centrally managed operation, not just a chaotic assembly of forced labor. After the sun sets, a brief window of relative freedom opens. You gather with your gang for your evening meal, more bread and beer, perhaps some dried fish or a few vegetables. The food is plain, but consistent and sufficient to fuel your demanding labor. You eat quickly, savoring every bite, then engage in quiet conversation with your comrades. You share stories from your home village, grumble about the day's overseers, or simply sit in companionable silence, too tired for much talk. One intriguing, yet often overlooked, detail of daily life in the workers' village is the presence of family units and skilled craftsmen, not just conscripted farmers. Archaeological digs at sites like the Giza Pyramid Complex have revealed evidence of permanent settlements with family homes, bakeries, and even cemeteries, suggesting that a significant portion of the workforce comprised skilled, permanent laborers who live there year-round with their families. While you, as a seasonal worker, might miss your own family. You witness these established communities within the village, observing the rhythms of their lives. You see women grinding grain, children playing in the dusty lanes, and craftsmen meticulously sharpening tools in their small workshops. This dispels the myth that all pyramid builders were temporary, transient laborers. Evenings often involve simple forms of recreation. Some men might gather around a storyteller, listening to ancient myths or humorous tales. Others might play simple board games carved into the earth. There's a communal singing, sometimes a mournful lament, sometimes a rousing work chant. These moments of shared culture provide a crucial psychological escape from the relentless toil, a brief reminder of your humanity outside of your role as a labor unit. The village also houses a significant number of specialized personnel. Scribes meticulously record daily provisions, labor quotas, and inventories of tools. Overseers, both high-ranking and low-level, maintain order and distribute tasks. There are doctors or healers, skilled in treating the common injuries and ailments of the construction site: broken bones, lacerations, heat stroke. While their methods might seem crude by modern standards, their presence indicates a concern for the workforce, a recognition that a healthy worker is a productive worker. There is a fascinating academic debate about the social hierarchy and remuneration within the workers' village. While all were under the pharaoh's authority, it's clear there were different classes of workers: highly paid master craftsmen, foremen who received better rations, and the vast majority of seasonal laborers like yourself who received basic sustenance as their wage or fulfillment of their civic duty. The evidence of distinct housing types and burial practices within the cemeteries suggests a stratified society, even within this temporary settlement. You observe these subtle distinctions: the slightly larger dwellings of the foremen, the better quality of tools in the artisans' workshops, and understand your place within this intricate social structure. Despite the organization, life is undeniably tough. Disease can spread quickly through such a dense population. Injuries sustained during the day's work can fester, leading to long-term suffering or even death. The constant physical exertion leaves you perpetually tired. Yet, the relative stability, the consistent food and shelter, and the camaraderie of your fellow workers make it endurable. It is a harsh existence, but one that is managed with remarkable efficiency for its time. As the night deepens, the village gradually falls silent. The stars, unobscured by city lights, blaze brilliantly in the Egyptian sky. You lie on your reed mat, listening to the soft breathing of your comrades, and contemplate the immense, silent structure rising in the distance. The pyramid, a monument to a god, is also a monument to the collective effort of thousands like you, who live and toil in this temporary city of endurance, a hidden engine of ancient ambition. You close your eyes, hoping for a few hours of dreamless sleep before the sun once again demands your strength. As a vital cog in the colossal machine of pyramid construction, your days are not just about lifting stone. They are inextricably linked to the immense logistical challenge of feeding the multitude. Imagine thousands upon thousands of laborers, skilled craftsmen, overseers, and support staff, all requiring daily sustenance in a vast, temporary city. You are a recipient of this ancient supply chain, and you witness firsthand the sheer scale and ingenuity required to keep such an enterprise running. Every morning, before the sun has fully climbed into the sky, you are roused by the calls of the overseers. Your first priority, even before reporting for work, is to receive your daily rations. You join a queue, your wooden bowl in hand, at one of the communal distribution points. Here, scribes meticulously oversee the allocation, ensuring that each worker receives their due. This precision in record-keeping is a common historical fact, indicating a highly organized system rather than haphazard distribution. Your primary sustenance is bread and beer. You receive your portion of coarse, heavy bread, often still warm from the massive communal ovens. This bread is dense and filling, made from emmer wheat or barley, providing the necessary carbohydrates for your grueling physical labor. The beer, thick and nutritious, serves as both a drink and a calorie source, safer and often more palatable than the local water, which could be contaminated. You might also receive a few onions, perhaps some dried fish, or, on rarer occasions, a small portion of meat. It's a monotonous diet, but it's consistent and provides the basic energy you need to survive the day. The sheer scale of food production required is mind-boggling. Imagine the acres of fields dedicated solely to growing grain for the pyramid builders, the thousands of bakers working tirelessly in the immense bakeries, and the countless brewers toiling to produce enough beer. This isn't just about provisioning a small village. It's about feeding an entire temporary city, day after day, for decades. This colossal agricultural and manufacturing effort is an often overlooked aspect of pyramid construction. You might occasionally see the arrival of supply convoys, long lines of donkeys laden with grain sacks, or barges floating down the Nile piled high with pottery full of beer and water. These are the arteries of the pyramid city, connecting it to the fertile lands and distant farms that sustain it. You understand that your very ability to work, to lift, to pull, depends on the tireless efforts of countless other Egyptians working far from the pyramid site itself. One intriguing, yet less known, detail is the provision of specialized food for different worker groups. While basic laborers like yourself receive the standard bread, beer, and onions, evidence suggests that skilled craftsmen, foremen, and high-ranking officials received better quality food, including more meat, fruits, and vegetables. You might see the separate queues, or the different types of rations being carried to the foreman's slightly larger dwellings. This highlights the social stratification even within the workforce, reflecting the hierarchical nature of ancient Egyptian society as a whole. The distribution system itself is a marvel of ancient logistics. The granaries are vast, meticulously managed structures, carefully recording every sack of grain that enters and leaves. Scribes ensure that no food is wasted, no portion is stolen, and that the flow of provisions is constant and uninterrupted. This administrative precision is as vital to the success of the pyramid as the engineering skill of the architects. Without food, the workers starve, and without workers, the pyramid simply doesn't get built. The threat of famine, or a disruption in the food supply, is a constant underlying concern. A poor harvest, a pestilence, or a political upheaval could cripple the entire operation. You know that your access to food is dependent on the stability of the entire kingdom, and on the pharaoh's continued ability to command resources. It's a delicate balance, maintained by constant vigilance and meticulous planning. There is a fascinating academic debate about the exact caloric intake of the pyramid builders and whether their diet was truly sufficient for such extreme physical exertion. While studies of worker skeletons show evidence of well-nourished individuals, unlike those suffering from starvation, the question remains whether the diet provided optimal energy for sustained, heavy labor. Your own experience tells you it's just enough to keep you going, to prevent collapse, but rarely enough to feel truly energized or satisfied. You are fueled, not feasted. You also witness the support staff dedicated entirely to this logistical marvel. Teams of water carriers constantly ferry fresh water from wells to the various work sites, their large clay jars heavy on their shoulders. Cooks tend the enormous ovens, kneading dough and baking bread in the intense heat. Brewers labor over vast vats of fermenting barley, producing the thick beer that is your daily drink. These are the hidden workers, the silent army behind the visible construction, without whom the pyramid would be an impossible dream. The communal nature of mealtimes is also significant. You eat with your gang, sharing stories, frustrations, and small moments of camaraderie. This shared experience of breaking bread, however simple the fare, reinforces the bonds between you and your comrades, creating a sense of unity in the face of immense hardship. It's a brief respite from the physical demands, a moment for social interaction before the heavy silence of sleep. As you finish your daily meal, a dull ache permeates your limbs, but your stomach is full enough to face the next shift, or to rest for the night. The logistical feat of feeding you and your thousands of comrades is largely invisible, a seamless operation orchestrated by unseen hands. But you are a living testament to its success, a direct beneficiary of an ancient system designed to fuel monumental ambition, one meager ration at a time, allowing the relentless work to continue, day after grinding day. Even amidst the astounding logistical achievements and the unwavering religious devotion, the brutal reality of pyramid construction cannot be escaped the constant specter of dangers and disease. For you, a laborer in this colossal undertaking, the cost of the pharaoh's glory is measured not just in sweat and toil, but in the ever-present threats of injury, illness, and the chilling finality of death. Every day, you step onto the worksite aware of the myriad ways your life could be irrevocably altered or ended. The ground itself is treacherous, uneven, rocky, covered in loose debris, and often made slippery by the water poured from moving sleds. A twisted ankle, a sudden fall, or a misplaced step could mean a debilitating injury, turning you from a productive worker into a burden. You've seen men limp away from the ramps, their faces contorted in pain, knowing that their ability to work, and thus to eat, might be gone forever. The tools themselves, though simple, pose constant threats. The copper chisels and dolerite pounders, wielded with immense force, can easily slip, causing deep gashes or crushing blows to hands and feet. Flying chips of stone, particularly from the harder granites, can blind an eye or cause severe lacerations. You learn to work with extreme caution, your movements precise and deliberate. But accidents are an inevitable consequence of working with such heavy materials and rudimentary safety measures. The most terrifying danger is, of course, the massive stone blocks themselves, a slip of a rope, a miscalculation in leverage, or a moment of carelessness can send a multi-ton block crashing down. You've witnessed the horrifying sight of a block breaking free, sliding down a ramp, or swinging out of control, scattering men like grains of sand. While it's a popular myth that hundreds were crushed daily, the truth is that such direct fatalities, while thankfully not a daily occurrence, were catastrophic when they happened, claiming dozens of lives in an instant. The very air seems to hold a tension, a silent warning, whenever a particularly large block is being moved. Beyond immediate injuries, the relentless physical exertion itself takes a profound toll on your body. The constant pulling, pushing, and lifting puts immense strain on your back, joints, and muscles. Hernias, slipped discs, and chronic pain are common afflictions among the veteran workers. You see men with hunched shoulders, limping gaits, and hands gnarled by years of brutal labor. Your body is a machine. Yes, but even machines wear down, and yours is wearing down faster than it should. Disease is an insidious, ever-present enemy. The workers' village, a densely populated settlement with basic sanitation, is a breeding ground for various ailments. Dysentery and other gastrointestinal illnesses are rampant, spread by contaminated water and food, debilitating workers with dehydration and weakness, respiratory illnesses, caused by the constant inhalation of stone dust, slowly but surely damage your lungs, leading to chronic coughs and shortness of breath. You know that kind of cream made from crocodile dung people used in ancient times? Well, it probably wouldn't help much against the constant ailments you face from dust and bad water. The scorching sun itself is a killer. Heatstroke is a common and deadly threat, particularly for new recruits or those weakened by illness. You see men collapse, their bodies seizing, their faces flushed and feverish. While healers might try to cool them, often with damp cloths and shade, many succumb to the brutal heat, their lives ending silently under the indifferent sky. The lack of proper rest, combined with the relentless sun, makes every worker vulnerable. Archaeological evidence, particularly studies of skeletons from workers' cemeteries near the pyramid sites, corroborates these dangers. They show a high incidence of bone fractures, signs of heavy labor, arthritic conditions, and evidence of parasitic infections and other diseases. This historical fact paints a far more accurate and grim picture than the romanticized notions of harmonious labor. The pyramids were built on a foundation of human suffering and sacrifice. Despite the dangers, there are efforts, however rudimentary, to mitigate the risks. Overseers enforce careful procedures for moving blocks, shouting warnings and ensuring coordinated effort. Healers in the workers' village tend to the injured and sick, using a combination of herbal remedies, basic surgery for fractures, and incantations. While not always effective, their presence shows a pragmatic understanding that keeping workers alive and healthy was essential for maintaining the pace of construction. A dead worker means a lost unit of labor, and a sick worker means reduced output. One less-known detail is the psychological impact of working in such close proximity to death and constant injury. The sight of a fallen comrade, the quiet removal of a body, the persistent cries of pain from the infirmary, these experiences wear down the spirit. You learn to become somewhat desensitized, to compartmentalize the horror, or you risk succumbing to despair. The shared understanding of these dangers creates a grim bond among the workers, a silent acknowledgement that any one of you could be next. There's an ongoing academic debate about the mortality rates on pyramid construction sites. While precise numbers are difficult to ascertain from ancient records, modern analysis of skeletal remains and logistical estimates suggest that while the rates were high for the period, they were not catastrophically so. This is largely attributed to the organized system of food, water, and basic medical care. However, not catastrophically high for the time still meant a significant number of deaths and debilitating injuries, a constant shadow over the workforce. As you conclude your period of service, or perhaps as you continue year after year, the marks of the pyramid are etched onto your body and your soul. Your joints ache, your lungs might carry a rasp, and your mind carries the indelible images of men struggling, falling, and suffering. The grand, awe-inspiring beauty of the completed pyramid stands as a monument to the pharaoh's vision. But for you, it is also a silent, towering testament to the immense human cost, the relentless dangers, and the profound suffering endured by countless hands and bodies, including your own. The last block is finally in place, high above the desert floor, a triumphant capstone against the brilliant blue sky. The shouts of the overseers cease. The rhythmic grunts of thousands of men pushing and pulling fall silent. A palpable sense of relief, tinged with exhaustion, washes over the entire site. The pharaoh's vision is complete. You stand back, covered in dust and sweat, your body aching, and gaze upon the finished masterpiece, a monument of unparalleled awe. But for you, also, a silent, towering testament to the legacy of suffering that brought it into being. You look at the pyramid now, its pristine white casing stones shimmering in the sunlight, its angles perfectly aligned with the cardinal directions. It is a structure of immense power, designed to defy time, to connect the earthly realm with the divine. It is beautiful, undeniably so, a testament to human ingenuity and the unyielding will of a god-king. You feel a flicker of pride, a quiet satisfaction that your hands, your sweat, your suffering, contributed to something truly eternal. But this pride is always shadowed by the memory of the immense human cost. You remember the men who fell during quarrying, their bodies shattered by falling rock. You recall the endless march across the desert, the suffocating heat, the constant thirst. You see the faces of comrades who succumbed to illness in the workers' village, their coughs echoing in your mind. You remember the bone-deep exhaustion, the blisters, the aching muscles, the taste of dust in every mouthful of bread. The pyramid is a monument to the pharaoh. Yes, but it is also a monument to your pain. The popular historical narrative often focuses on the mystery of how the pyramids were built, marveling at the engineering feats. But for you, the enduring mystery is not how but why such immense human suffering was deemed necessary, and how so many men, including yourself, found the will to endure it day after day. You understand the religious mandate, the belief in the pharaoh's divinity, but that belief often felt very far away when your back was breaking under a heavy stone. You also recognize the extraordinary organization that underpinned this brutality. The precise planning, the logistical genius of feeding and sheltering tens of thousands of men, the meticulous record-keeping, the system of seasonal conscription. These were the unseen forces that allowed the visible work to proceed. This systematic approach, this capacity for large-scale management, is an often unacknowledged legacy of the pyramid builders, a testament to their administrative sophistication. They created a perfectly tuned machine, and you were a cog within it. One fascinating yet less known detail about the legacy of these projects is that the workers who died on site were often buried with respect in the workers' cemeteries, sometimes even with small burial gifts, demonstrating that they were valued members of society, not disposable slaves. You might have participated in these quiet ceremonies, helping to lay a comrade to rest, a final act of solidarity in a life defined by collective effort and shared sacrifice. This stands in stark contrast to the common portrayal of pyramid builders being simply dumped into mass graves. The pyramids themselves become a silent, enduring presence in your landscape. As you return to your village or settle into a quiet life elsewhere, you will see their peaks on the horizon, a constant reminder of your past. They are no longer just a construction site. They are a completed marvel, towering over the land, casting long shadows across your memories. They are a symbol of absolute power, but also, for you, a symbol of absolute endurance. There is a lingering academic debate among historians and archaeologists about the long-term social and economic impact of pyramid building on ancient Egyptian society. Did these massive projects strengthen the central government and unify the kingdom? Or did they drain resources and labor, potentially hindering other forms of development? Your lived experience offers no definitive answer, but you know the immense human cost. You know the resources that were poured into these structures could have fed more mouths, built more homes, or developed new technologies. Yet, the pharaoh's will was paramount, and the pyramids stand as its unyielding testament. The memory of the work will never truly leave you. The phantom ache in your muscles on a cold night, the unconscious habit of scanning the ground for loose stones, the lingering taste of dust in your mouth. These are the indelible marks of the pyramids, etched onto your very being. You are a living relic of that ancient undertaking, a walking story that will likely never be fully told in the grand chronicles of history. As you grow older, you might sit by the Nile, watching the river flow, and reflect on the strange journey of your life. You were a part of something truly monumental, a feat of human will and engineering that continues to baffle and inspire millennia later. You endured unimaginable hardship, pushed your body to its absolute limits, and contributed to a structure that speaks of eternity. The pyramids stand as a symbol of awe, yes, but for those who built them, they are also a quiet, profound testament to the enduring human spirit in the face of brutal, relentless demand. Your suffering built their glory, an unsung legacy etched in stone.